Hello, everybody. Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area. It is Saturday. These are your updates. The 49ers did make some moves today. They downgraded both Nick Bosa and Aaron Banks to out, so neither lineman will play. Nick Bosa, I don't think, was ever expected to play in Sunday's game, but Aaron Banks looked like he was going to clear the protocol, and obviously he did not. They also placed two guys on IR. Jordan Mason, of course, which we expected, but George Odom also goes on IR. Now, he's a special teams ace that was brought in when the special teams were really bad. And then, he's played a significant part when they were having safety health issues. He would step in, really solid veteran player. Um, and this is like why I always kind of keep my eyes open in the locker room. During open locker room on Wednesday, I think, George Odom was sitting kind of like by his locker. Nick Bosa went out. No, it was Thursday. Nick Bosa kind of was riding his scooter out, and he stopped and talked to George Odom right at the entrance of the locker room. Like George Odom's got the first locker right at the entrance door. And so Nick Bosa stood there, kind of one foot on his scooter, one on the ground, and talked to George Odom for the entire time we were waiting for George Kittle and throughout the entire George Kittle interview. And then he was still there when we were done. So I could tell that there was some sort of thing going on. Turns out, I'm sure George Odom was kind of explaining to Nick Bosa what exactly the injury was and what was going on and how he was going to be placed on IR. So, no details on that. We'll kind of find out more of that and kind of as we go along through the weekend. But what I do know is that George Odom has been placed on IR with Jordan Mason. All right, they promoted from the active roster offensive lineman Sebastian Gutierrez. I think that's because Aaron Banks is going to be still out. I do think that Jalen Moore and Ben Barch are still going to get the start on that left side of the offensive line, but Sebastian Gutierrez adds some depth just in case they need another guy. Also activated from the practice squad, Jalen Graham, linebacker, and Keyshawn Vaughn, running back. So that means that they're deciding to go with Keyshawn Vaughn, who's a little bit more familiar with the 49ers offensive system, as opposed to Israel Abanaconda. There we go. Israel Abanaconda, who they picked up off of waivers from the Jets. Takes me a minute, Abanaconda. But Keyshawn Vaughn has been with the 49ers for a little bit while longer. Christian McCaffrey, who is an all-pro running back, it took him some time to kind of get used to the 49ers outside zone running back, how to be able to run sideways and then stick a foot in the ground and run forward. So while I know everybody is excited to see a new running back, I think you should be excited to see Isaac Guerendo. Isaac Guerendo has been in the system for a while. You saw I posted the video of him handing his homework into Bobby Turner. And, he had a couple blips, little issues. He played a couple games and he had really good runs, but he missed on a couple blitz pickups, and that led to a sack of Brock Purdy at one point, or a hurry or a hit. So I think Isaac Guerendo now has a little bit bigger or more solid grasp of the 49ers offense, which hopefully those mistakes won't happen because really the 49ers need to not make mistakes, no turnovers, no, huge mistakes like sacks and missed opportunities like we've seen in the past because it is getting down to the wire. There are 5 games left, and this game against the Bears is one of those must-win situations. It's an NFC opponent. I know Thursday's game against the Rams is even more important because it is NFC West divisional game. But honestly, the 49ers need to win every game possible, and that means on Sunday versus the Bears. Bears defense is very, very stout. They don't allow a lot of red zone touchdowns, and guess what? 49ers are not very good at red zone touchdowns. So good thing is that George Kittle is healthy, Kyle Juszczyk is healthy, so you're going to have some of those, opportunities. And I hope that George Kittle, while he was helping out the offensive line a lot in Buffalo, he has more opportunities to catch the ball because when George Kittle has the ball in his hands, I think that's a good thing. Also, I would really like to see the 49ers get Ricky Pearsall involved. Deebo Samuel has had some opportunities, but I don't know what's happened, whether he's not hitting the hole or the blocking hasn't been good around him. So it's hard to say unless you know the play call what exactly is going on with Deebo Samuel, but he hasn't had the production that we've seen from him in the past. Ricky Pearsall, though, a guy who can get separation. I think this is a game where Brock Purdy needs to air it out a little bit more. It's not snowing, so hopefully they, yes, rely on the run game, but they need to also balance it out. They need to have much more passing game through the air as opposed to only relying on the run. So, or more balanced approach on the offense, I think would be good. On the defensive line, yes, Samu Kawanu and Evan Anderson are going to have, their opportunities again, but Jordan Elliott cleared the concussion protocol, unlike Aaron Banks. So Jordan Elliott will be back in the lineup next to Malik Collins, but of course those guys are going to rotate out with Samu Kawanu and Evan Anderson. It'd be Yetur Gross-Matos was limited in practice during the week, but he'll probably be opposite of Leonard Floyd wherever those two decide to line up. Those two are going to be kind of your starting pass rushers on the edge. So we'll see how they work out. Big game for the 49ers. And hopefully, if you're going there, you say hi and yell hello. Um, but there's a lot of, I addressed in my last little video here that, the whole blow it up scenario is not what's going to happen with the 49ers. Also, what's not going to happen is the fire Kyle Shanahan scenario. It's just not. It's so hard to find a good head coach. And you look at where the 49ers were before Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, it was Jim Tom Sula and Chip Kelly and a train wreck of 2 seasons and what they did and with Trent Baalke and what led to the roster being as awful as it was, as thin as it was in 2017 when John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan took over. It was one of those, it was a rebuild at that point. And I know I've seen some comments that the roster is top heavy, but it's not. Yes, there are a lot of high paid players, but there are also look at the rookies that are coming in, have come in. This rookie class, Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa, Isaac Guerrero, who you'll see on Sunday, Dominic Pooney, all of these rookies that have come in that are making contributions. Those are lower numbers on the salary cap. Whether they are able to keep Dre Greenlaw or not, that'll be, another kind of piece of the puzzle once it comes to the end of the season. But I'm, maybe Talanoa Hufanga stays for another year on a 1 year kind of prove it deal because he's been injured and he hasn't been on the field a lot. Same thing for Dre Greenlaw. Charvarius Ward, I think he knows that his time is done with the 49ers at the end of the season because Renardo Green is playing really well. And they paid a ton of money to Deommodore Lenoir. So I just don't think they pay Charvarius Ward again. He'll be a free agent at the end of the year. And, I think there's a lot of room for them to grow, especially on the defensive line. I think that's where we have missed the production being seen on the field from the defense. Stopping the run, stopping rushing touchdowns. I mean, there was a time where this 49ers defense would not allow 100 yards a game at all, let alone 220. I mean, they were really stingy. And so I know they're going to want to get back to that. Maybe Drake Jackson, after, being on IR all year, comes back healthy. I've seen him here and there in the locker room, but not much. But he's a guy who they need to get production out of, and also maybe they go after defensive linemen in the draft because they really need to get more production out of their defensive line. And it's, Drake Jackson was a really high pick, and they really need to get high production out of their top picks, and that includes Ricky Pearsall. So we'll see how it goes on Sunday, but I hope to see a lot of these rookies involved and showing what they can do. I mean, this is an opportunity for them. They're going to get more game reps that are so valuable for young players. So we'll see what happens. And if you're there, hopefully you say hi. Matt Mayoko has been also downgraded to out, but he will be, I believe, doing the podcast. So we'll be doing the podcast, but on pregame and postgame, it'll be myself and Laura Brett doing a lot of the work from the field. And then, of course, Carlos, Rod, and Dante in the studio. So definitely tune into pregame. And then on post game again, I'll be there as well. So definitely tune in and let me know what you'd like to hear about, what you're interested in. And please like, follow, subscribe, do all of that stuff. Tell your friends that we're doing this over here. I don't know. People keep saying in the comments, they're like, I didn't know you're doing a YouTube channel. So spread the word and let everybody know. And I'll keep doing these daily updates for you. Okay? Bye.